got a call that got me delayed till now.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So you've not been able to go through the slides, right?
No, at all.
All right, that's okay. All right, so welcome to, sorry, let me zoom in. Can you see the slides better now? Hello?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, great. So we'll just run through today's class. I know we have 6 or so weeks for this, and we're already in week 3. So I'm going to be sharing in the course of the week, I'm going to be sharing for the other theoretical parts of the class. I'm going to be sharing the content with you so that you would read it during the week, so that we can gain as much speed in the process and we get to the practical part, which is test documentation, and test reporting and how to carry out tests across different application. So I'm thinking of switching um, the class a bit where I will share content for you to read in the course of the week. And should you have any questions, the WhatsApp group is open for you to ask and I'll provide clarity. I would like to encourage us to please read the materials, right? That's the whole essence of the class. I'm going to give a pop quiz today. We'll just go through it together and I'll call random people to answer the questions just to be sure that you have a good understanding of what we have taken so far. But going forward, I'll share the resources. Then we'll use these Saturday classes for our practicals. Do we get that? You can
Yes,
just thumbs up if you do. All right, great. Okay, so today's class we're going to be looking at software development lifecycle, what is popularly called SDLC. Um, some people may have heard of it, others might be new to it, but essentially it's a life cycle for how applications are built. Is the processes and the steps that to be taken in order for applications that we see to be built. So different organizations apply different styles for developing the application, and SDLC in summary tells us about these different styles and what makes them unique, right? So SDLC is the term used to describe, like I said, series of phases, principles, or models that provide a framework for developing software. So how does Google develop their software versus how does Facebook develop their software? How does GT Bank develop its software? The how, the processes they take, the steps they take is what SDLC in summary is about, right? So it's the next line tells us in summary what it is. It's the process used by software industry to design, develop, and test high quality software. So how software industries, processes used by software industries to design, develop, and test high quality software. So there are several phases in the SDLC. If you go online, you will see different phases. Some have 5, some have 6, some have 8, some have 7. But essentially, these are the phases that I will be sharing in this class. Phase 1 is where the requirements are gathered. You know, we've been talking about requirements, specification, a document that captures the idea of the application that is to be developed, and then list out what the person who had that idea, what the features the person expects to see. So we started by saying the first class when we mentioned things like user manuals that come when you buy a new device. That user manual contains information about that device you just bought, how to use it, how to take care of it, how to maintain it, essential things about the product, right? So a requirement document, regardless of the name, whether it's BRD, business requirement document, FRD, functional requirement document, or CRD, customer or client requirement documents, URD, user requirement documents. There is even PRD, product requirement document. So regardless of the nomenclature that is given to it, ideally that document contains all the information we need as a development team to build the application. It's usually prepared by a business analyst. So that's what stage one is, how to design requirements gathering, right? How these requirements are gathered by a business analyst. So picture it as this. If Esther wants to build an application for mothers, maybe an application where mothers can reach out to people for support, or sorry, an application where people can book for nannies, right? Maybe nannies help, whether full-time, whether living, whether come and go, you get. So Esther has an idea that instead of looking for agent up and down, why don't we build an app for nannies, right? And so she gets a business analyst, somebody who will write down the ideas. Okay, so the business analyst will ask, okay, so this app is for nannies. What should we really do? Should it be a place where we just book nannies? Do you want it to be a place where, what are the features you want users to select when they are booking for nannies, etc. So all those specifications, I want nannies that are 18 years and above, I want 18 to 50 years, I want only female nannies, I want nannies that are dark in complexion, I want all those specifications is what the business analyst in Esther's team would pen down. Okay, so what features do you want it to have? I want a feature where they can register or create an account, where they can log in, where that will have different user types. I, as a customer that wants to book a nanny. Another user type is I, as a nanny who wants to get job from that platform. The third user type can be I, as I who is an admin of the application. So the admin should be able to upload pictures of qualified nannies. The admin should be able to say when a nanny has been taken, when a nanny has not been taken, etc. All these different features, right? So the business analyst's job is to document all these ideas that Esther has and present it in a way that the developers know the features that in the app they're about to build and the requirements for each of those features, right? So that document is what comes together as a requirement document. So this process of gathering all the data, Esther can say, okay, I've had bad experiences in the past, so I want our application to be able to undergo a screening, an automatic screening process for the applicants, right? So all those features, the idea gathering happens in this phase one. Phase two is design. So now that we know the requirements, now that the business analyst has helped us to capture all of Esther's idea and present it in a detailed document, the next step is to design, the design phase. In this phase, this is where you design data flow diagrams, class diagrams, architectural diagrams, basically a flow to show the different processes, the different, we mentioned 3 users. We mentioned a nanny that wants to get a job. We mentioned a customer that wants to book a nanny, and we mentioned an admin, right? So each of the flows for these 3 user type, the design phase captures all of those flows. How is an admin created? What functions should an admin only be able to do that a customer should not be able to do? All those designing phase happens here. Third phase is implementation and coding. So in this phase is where you then get the engineers. Okay, we have the information that is needed, we have the designs, we have the diagrams, we have the visuals of it. Now you can start writing the code. So third stage, the implementation and coding phase. That's where all the developers, backend developers, begin to create the APIs that the front-end developers will use also. The product designs that the product designer has created. This is where the front-end guys will begin to um write the code to implement those designs that the product designer has created, all those sketches and pictures to show what the application should look like. That's when you now get a front end or a mobile developer to start developing those images, right? So this is the get your hands dirty phase, which is the implementation phase. Another phase is the testing phase. I think that one is self-explanatory. So this is where the tester then does a review of the requirements. Although the review of the requirements, depending on the style of software development, can start as early as when the business analyst is documenting the FRD, right? So different methods of software development have different approaches to which all of these phases go through. In some methods, we'll see it in the course of the class. In some methods, testing can happen early. In some methods, testing can happen second to the last thing, right? The next phase now is the deployment. So after developer has written the code, tester has tested the code and tested the application and everything is fine, we then deploy the application for customers to use, right? Or for the client to use. Then after deployment, the next things that follow, if there are no new additions to be made, is just maintenance. This is where you would ensure that the application keeps running, there's no downtime, the server doesn't crash, etc. Okay, so let's look at the software development models. We have waterfall model. I think we're taking, no, you can't, please. I think we have four models that we'll be looking at in today's class. And the first is waterfall. So most of us may have heard of this if we are not new to the tech space or software development space. This model is one of the oldest models for developing software. In this model, you can see that each of the phases of software development happens one step before the next step. So the first phase, which is requirement analysis, must happen first before system design happens. That's what distinguishes waterfall method from every other method. Just as water in a waterfall flows, it's flowing from a higher place to a lower place, meaning if there's no water at the top, then no water can flow to the lower level. The same happens in this method of development. If the method at the top does not finish, then the next step, we can't start doing the next step. Meaning, if I've not finished requirement analysis this phase, we can't start system design. If system design has not been done and completed, implementation cannot start. If implementation has not been completed, testing cannot start. If testing has not been completed, deployment cannot happen. So that's how it is. It is one step must finish before the next step starts. That's the difference between waterfall model. The second model is V model. Okay, great. I have a diagram. So in this model, you don't wait for step 1 to finish before step 2 typically happens, right? In the V model is regarded as verification and validation model. It's similar to waterfall in a way, but the only difference is that testing is done earlier and is done hand in hand with other parts of the development process. So V model splits the process into two phases: verification phase and validation phase. Then instead of waiting for testing to come after implementation, a degree of testing happens at each level. So while business analyst is capturing Esther's idea for that app for nannies and documenting the idea, there's a tester in the room that is also creating acceptance tests based on those requirements that the business analyst is creating. Same way for the system design phase, the system design and software design phase. They are also creating tests for the system, a holistic system-based functional test and integration test. So what distinguishes V model from waterfall is waterfall, step one must finish before step two starts. Step two must finish before step three starts. And you can see that testing is step four. But in V model, yes, each level starts and another level continues, but there's an associated validation stage, which is the testing stage that is associated with each of these steps. So that's principally the difference. So what is the meaning of validation? What's the meaning of verification? A lot of the time, these questions are asked during interviews. So what does validation mean? What does verification mean? It's usually a very important question. So validation is confirmation by example and through provision of objective evidence. Basically, let me not speak this big grammar. In simple terms, validation means is more concerned with the user's perspective. It deals with internal processes, and the question verification answers is, have I built what I said I will build? Have I built the requirements? That's what verification checks for, right? Have I built what I promised Esther that I will build? Verification, that's verification. Validation checks, have I built what will be used? So validation checks for functionality, right? Validation is more focused on the end user. At the end of the day, when I build Esther's nanny app, will a nanny be able to use it? Will a nanny be able to onboard seamlessly, upload their pictures, undergo verification, undergo any health check, and be posted live for customers to be able to use, right? Have I built what is usable? That's what validation checks. Verification checks, have I built what I promised my Oga I will build, what I promised Esther I will build, meaning the requirements that the business analyst wrote. Have I built a system that meets all that requirements? But that's verification. Validation checks, have I built a system that can be used? I don't know if they have any questions around that. If you do, you can raise your hands. If not, we move to the next model. So the next model is the spiral model. Okay, someone's hand is up. Please go on.
Okay, I just want to confirm it. So verification is, have I built the system? Have I built the application? Validation is this application working perfectly? Like, is that okay?
So verification is, have I built the system based on the requirements, based on what was in the BRD, the requirement document or the design documents. Maybe they gave a Figma design, right? I don't know if no, it wasn't in this class. A Figma, how many of us know what a Figma design is? Okay, I want to try and open one so that you see. A Figma design is like a low fidelity picture. Okay, I think I showed in this class, our first class, when I opened the PRD and I was showing you an sketches of an application, sketches of what the product manager designed for an application, where there were comments. Sorry, I'm trying to look for a if sample Figma design. Open one so that you can see what I mean. These things are not opening. Okay. Let me stop sharing and reshare. This- All right, so I need to open Figma to, and I don't have a Figma account on this system, so oh, drag. So just go back to the image now. Um,
Hello, hi. Sorry, please. I don't understand everything here. Please, how can I join the beginners class? Thank you.
This is the beginners class. I don't know if this is your first class. If it is this the first time have you just been added to the WhatsApp group?
Yes, this is my first class. This is my first meeting. Yes.
Were you just added to the WhatsApp group? What was all this? Were you just added to the WhatsApp group? Hello,
Yes,
Abike.
yes, please.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to at the end of this class, I'm going to share the previous slides for today's for this class. This is just the third class, so it's not like you've missed a lot. I'm not seeing a new addition, but I'll share it from my mobile. My WhatsApp is not opening old messages here. So just follow from today's class. Today's class, we are talking about software development lifecycle. And I explained that it's for short, we call it SDLC. And I explained that software development lifecycle means the processes that you would take to develop an application. So it's like cooking, for example. What are the processes you will take to cook fried rice? You can call that fried rice process, right? SDLC is software development lifecycle, and it means what are the series of processes that are involved in developing a software application or an application. So that's what we're treating. And we've looked at two methods. We looked at the waterfall method, where the different phases, step one has to be complete before step two starts. Step two only starts after you have finished completing step one. We spoke about the different phases, that there's a requirement phase. Phase one is requirements analysis. Phase two is design. Phase three is implementation and coding. Phase four is testing. Phase five is deployment. And phase six is maintenance. All of that is in the slide. Then we looked at the different models, SDLC models. We said the first model is the one I just mentioned, waterfall, where phase two can only start after phase one has finished. Meaning, if we've not finished requirement gathering, we cannot start design phase. If we've not finished design phase, we cannot start implementation, etc. So one phase must finish before the next phase starts. That's waterfall. V model is the second model we looked at, and we said V model is similar to waterfall, but it has two aspects. It has the verification part and the validation part. And for each of the phases, there is a corresponding test phase. You see the diagram in the slide I shared. The slide is on the WhatsApp channel. I shared it this evening. So I wanted to quickly show you some what a Figma design is. That's why I stopped sharing the slide. So can everyone still see my screen?
Yes, I can
All right.
see.
So this is this is a sample Figma design. You see, it looks like a mobile app, right? But this is just like an image. A product designer will design this image so that all of us can have a visual feel of what the application will look like even before we start drawing code, even before we start writing any code. A program designer uses a product designer rather uses Figma or any other design tool to create the images for the mobile application. So this is an example of a mobile application. This first screen is a confirmation screen. It's most likely a payment application. A confirmation screen to show the details of what you're about to make payment for, and a button where you can click to confirm your transfer. Image 2 is a debit transfer screen image, a design for a debit transfer screen. You can see that it has text letting you know when the transfer is successful and the details of what you have transferred. It also has a share button, which is at this top right, and a back button, which is at the top left. Then there's a button here that you can also use to go back to home. So these are Figma designs, and the idea of Figma design is such that everybody on the team you are not imagining what the application's confirmation page should look like. You have a picture of it. Is this design, this picture that a front-end developer would then create to write code to develop these screens, right? Based on this picture that a product designer has given them. So that's what a Figma design is. A Figma design is like a mock-up. So what is a mock-up? You remember when we're in primary school and they say draw a family, and we'll draw a circle as head. We'll put 2 dots as 2 eyes. We'll put a curve as mouth. We'll then draw 1 straight line for neck. Then draw 2 lines each by the side for left hand and right hand. How many of us remember that is it caricature we draw, or those stick images that we used to draw in primary school? Yes, we remember something like that. That's like that's because you are not an artist, right? You can't draw a real human being, so you draw something that's a mock-up to depict what you want to show. You want to show a family, but because you can't draw real human being, that's why we use all those stick diagrams. The same way you can call those ones a prototype or a mock-up. It's just a sample of a real picture. The same way with Figma designs. Figma designs are just like pictures to show and visualize what we want to develop, right? So when they say purple, when they say we want to build our app colors will be purple and black and magenta. You know, the purple has what do they call hexacode? Colors have code, right? The purple, okay, you can see my screen. The purple for Adetone Odunikon's image, the background on this call is different from the purple of this Figma design, right? It's different from the shade. They are both purple. If you had just said, oh, if the app owner says purple, that is our logo, the product designer and the front-end designer say which shade of purple are you talking about? Because even from this call, we can see that purple has different shades, right? So I have digressed, but I've shown you what a Figma design looks like. Essentially, it's supposed to capture what the image. I want to see if I'll see other Figma designs. It's supposed to tell us give us pictures of what the application will look like. Let me see if I can show one more. Maybe I just, don't worry. Let's go back to our class. Let's not spend too much time on this. All right, so where is our class? I'm sharing the screens again to our slide. All right. So for Abike, we are back to the slide now. And I said today's class was about software development lifecycle. I've explained in summary what it means. It's like the processes or the phases you will take when you want to develop a software, the way you have processes to cook fried rice, right? So software development lifecycle is the processes, the combination of processes you take to build a software application. And we mentioned the different phases, that there are 6 of them. These are the 6. I explained it earlier on. So we are talking about the different models. You know, sometimes, just like fried rice, some people might just combine, some people don't parboil their rice. They might method 1 can be you parboil your rice, then you season and fry your vegetables, steam your vegetables, and then you add it to the parboiled rice and just allow to cook for some minutes. That can be method 1. Method 2 can be just put your curry and put oil in the pot, put your curry and thyme, or put your butter in the pot, put your curry and thyme, put the hard vegetables, maybe like the carrots and everything, anything you want, any of your spices, put fry your onions, everything, then put the rice, let it cook. That can be another method some people use. Different people have their different styles, right? So same with software development models. There are different styles to it. There's a waterfall style where you either you do phase 1 first before phase 2, finish phase 2 before you start phase 3. That's waterfall. Then we say V model. For each phase, you do a corresponding test phase. That's what differentiates V model from waterfall. And they said these phases are split into 2: verification and validation, which we've explained here. Verification means, have I built what was in the requirements that the owner of the application gave me to build? While validation is, have I built what will be used? So there's a way we can build an application that meets everything in the design and in the requirements. But when you ship that product to production, nobody can use it. It's either is in a language nobody understands. So imagine building an application and the only language it supports is English language. It means if somebody in France downloads that app, the person cannot use it because the person doesn't understand any instruction that is on the app, right? So while this developer has built an app and thinks, well, I've built something, not everybody can use it. So verification deals with, have I built what was in the requirements, what I promised that I will build based on the requirements? That's verification. Then validation says, have I built what can be used? Those are 2 different things. So spiral model was the model we're going into. And this model, it has the same phases, right? But it happens in a spiral form. So it's like a mixture of both waterfall and iterative models. To iterate means to repeat the same thing, like a loop. You see the way there is a circle. It's like saying, let me see if there's a process that undergoes iteration. I'm trying to think of a life process that undergoes iteration. So iteration means you go to point A. Okay, let me see life. I think life, will I say life is an iteration? So at first, a child is born, the child cannot do anything for himself, right? The child cannot move very well, the child cannot speak very well, the child cannot feed for themselves, right? Then as the child grows, the child is able to maybe start crawling, then start walking, then start talking, then is able to support himself a bit, then can eat. As they grow, the child advances, has more responsibility, can do more things by himself. Also, when an adult begins to get elderly, it looks like we're going back to how we started as children. So when it gets to a point when an adult is too old and needs support from other people to move around, sometimes cannot be able to feed for themselves and need support from a nurse or someone to feed them. Sometimes they can't change their diapers and they can't change themselves or clean up after themselves, so they need to wear diapers. So it looks like that elderly person has gone back to the baby state, right? Please, I know this example is not perfect, but I hope it creates. I'm trying to think of a non-technical example. So it looks like it's a circle, and we found ourselves going back to how we started in the beginning as babies, where a baby was unable to cater for himself and other people were helping him. That's the same way an elderly person, once an adult grows and becomes very elderly at this particular phase of their life, they are very similar to babies. So that looks like a loop, an iteration where we were dependent, then we grew, our dependency reduced, and we became independent. We could do everything by ourselves. We're enjoying our life, and then we gradually entered the dependent phase again, where other people help us do other things. That is like a cycle, right, of things with the human life, how the human life has revolved back to the beginning, right, from baby back to elderly person. So that's like a loop, a circle. So for spiral, how does this affect what we're trying to explain here? For spiral model is like waterfall, where you start one phase, move to the next phase. You don't finish everything in that phase one. Requirement gathering. So phase one is requirement gathering. In that requirement gathering, Esther, who is the owner of the nanny app, may just have account creation and login, may just have requirements for that, right? So instead of waiting to have all the full application, she says, let's start building what we already have. So they start with account creation, and they get the requirements and analyze the requirements for account creation. Once that is done, they now move to design. Let's design what the sign up flow should look like, right? That's when they create a product designer will create a Figma design for what the sign up process, account creation process will look like. Where would the sign up button be? What's the color of the app? Will it be called sign up, or will it be called create an account? All those things, someone will design what it will look like, right? That's the design phase. Then next, implementation phase, the backend developer begins to write APIs for account creation. The front end guy begins to write code to create the screens for account creation, like that. So I've just mentioned analysis. I've mentioned I've spoken about analysis for sign up alone. I've spoken of designing the screens for sign up alone. I've spoken of implementation and coding for sign up alone. Once they've back-end, front-end, or mobile developers are done, they now give it to the tester. The tester now checks the APIs, checks the mobile app for sign up alone, checks the web app for sign up alone. Then they might now decide, oh, okay, should we ship this to production, ship it to an environment where people can sign up? Let's see if they how the sign up rates are, right? So we've gone through one circle of the full SDLC for only one feature, sign up. Later, we now say, okay, let's move to, we've done sign up, let's do the same thing for login. Someone then creates the requirements for login, creates the design for login, writes the code for login, tester tests login, we deploy. We then pick another feature. Okay, let's do profile, where nannies can, after they have signed up, they can upload a picture of themselves. They can write their preference, whether they want to be a living nanny or whether they want to be a come and go nanny. What they call those ones? Living and I don't know, Sha, come and go. Let's just say come and go nanny. So living nanny or come and go nanny. If you want them to say the amount they want to collect, all of that part, let's call it profile information, right? So it means there'll be a requirement analysis for profile information. There'll be a design for the profile information screen. There'll be an implementation phase for the profile information screen. So you see that it picks one feature of the app and it goes through each of these phases. A typical example is this. Most times when we started using WhatsApp did not have communities. Yes or no? For those who did not just join WhatsApp in the past 2 years, if you've been using WhatsApp for 5 years, yes. So some things were not on WhatsApp. Some things were built as iterations to the existing application. And it happens to many applications like that. Same thing for Instagram. In fact, Instagram, in one particular year, several years ago, the updates, it took us time to even know because it changed many things at the same time. I think that's when they added Reels. That was when they moved the post button to the upper right corner. Everything just changed. That if you had done that update, you first need to calm down and be asking, where is the plus sign to add picture? Where is the plus sign to add video? Like there was, I don't know if any other person felt that way after that major update, but I felt that way because it was like many things changed. So those are what we call iterations, when they are adding new things to an existing application. The way WhatsApp added communities, the way WhatsApp recently added the ability to group your messages. So you can group church members inside a group. You can group family in one group. You can group messages from your secondary school in one group. So those are iterations. And what happens when those ideas come, and many other applications like that, banking application, GTB at a point did not have investments and all of that on their mobile app, right? How many of us remember that? Okay. Or for any other app you use, you just see one day they say there's an update, you update and then you see new features. Each of those new features had to undergo an iteration like this, where they say, oh, we want to add this feature. The business analyst say, okay, what are the requirements that this new feature should have? They do phase 1, which is requirement analysis. They now give a product designer, oh yeah, go and design the screens for this new feature. The product designer goes to design the screen. So it's like a cyclic motion. After they design, developers write the code. After developers write the code, tester test. After tester test, they push it to production. That's when all of us as customers are saying, they've added something. What did they add today? Let's test, let's check it. What can this thing do? What is this thing supposed to do? Right? That's one iteration that's completed. And they shipped it to us as a new release. So that's what Spiral model does. It undergoes the same things, the same 4 processes, but in a loop, in like a cyclic motion, right? That's the major difference with spiral model. So it's like a loop. All right, so the final model we'll be looking at tonight is Agile. This is what many companies in the world confess that they do, although it's open to plenty debates, but I'm not here to judge what people say they do and what they not do. So what's Agile? Oh, Agile is like the latest, Agile is like the most widely accepted model for developing applications. So in Agile, it's like Agile also uses iterations, but it splits the entire project into small chunks. So if you want to build an application like the Nanny application I mentioned, can anybody tell me 4 features that a Nanny application should have? Like, I've been given an example of a Nanny application and a Nanny service application for those who joined the call late, and I called it Esther wants to build an application where nannies can, where people can come to the application and hire a nanny, where people who are nannies can come to the application and register to be a nanny and get a job. Then where the owner, Esther in this case, who is the owner, can also be an admin. So Esther can regulate who has done health check, what's the test results. If somebody has been hired, Esther can change the status to hired so that somebody else does not book that person, etc. So Esther is like the admin of the app. So can anyone just suggest like 2 or 3 features that you think that app should have, a nanny app like that, or an agency, a nanny hiring app? All right, Esther, go on.
Okay.
Yes, which one?
Good evening, everyone. You should have a sign-in screen. You should have a register screen. You should have like a home page, like a dashboard, so to say.
Okay, so it should have a dashboard, sign in, which is account creation, and I'm sorry, sign up, dashboard, and sign in. All right, thank you, Esther. Juliana.
Yeah.
We can hear you, Juliana, but you're not saying anything. Juliana is muted though. Anyone else? Can you suggest what you should most likely see on the app? Okay. So if someone wants to place an order on the app, there has to be a place where they can see all available nannies, right? So Esther mentioned the dashboard. So the dashboard can have available nannies. The dashboard can have a section for reviews where people who have hired the nanny before have dropped comments for the nannies. They can have a section for bookings, your previous bookings. They can have different section, a section for payments. Okay, I want to pay for this particular nanny. How do I book her? Right, the order or the booking phase for that nanny. So it can have different features. Each of these features will not just be built once in Agile. In Agile methodology, the project manager, the product manager will see, oh, we have 5 features to build, right? Okay. So these 5 features, we will build feature 1. We'll pick it as 5 iterations. Iteration 1, each iteration would run for 2 weeks, meaning the first feature is account creation. Let's use 3 weeks to do account creation. So you then split what are the requirements for account creation. We then get every member of the team to come together and in a meeting called the sprint planning meeting, right? That's where every stakeholder, the business analyst that has the requirements, the product designer that is going to design the Figma designs for account creation, the backend developer that is going to write the APIs for account creation, the mobile and web developers are going to design the web and mobile apps for account creation, the software tester that is going to test the account creation. Everybody that will be needed will be in that meeting. So Agile uses what we call sprints. You hear sprints a lot. A sprint is like a time box period for us to work. So let's go back to the kitchen example. You want to cook fried rice. You want to build fried rice. Fried rice is the product. You want to build it. You now say, okay, so there are different phases. There's the wash the rice. There's the go to the market. There's the buy the things. There's the wash the rice. There's the cut the vegetables. There are different phases, right? You now say, okay, for phase one, go to the market to purchase the items. Let's use 2 weeks or 3 weeks, sprint one, to do that. So that sprint is a time frame. Most companies you have it as 2 weeks. Most companies have it as 3 weeks. Some companies, if it is a small feature that will not take too much time, they have a 1 week sprint. But essentially, a sprint is a time box period for you to achieve a particular thing. That's what a sprint is. So in Agile, they make use of sprints and they take the whole application and break it into small chunks, then assign each chunk to a sprint. So sprint one, meaning week 1 to 3. If it's a 3-week sprint, we are going to be going to the market to purchase the item. This is just an example. Using cooking fried rice, we are going to the market. That's what everybody in the team is going to be doing. So tester will go to the market to test, is this rice good price? That's what tester said. Product designer is going to the market to check, oh, what's the color of the rice? What's the shape of the rice? What's the size? And is designing what the rice would look like, right? Backend developer is saying, okay, what API do I need to call to be able to get the rice from the market? Everybody, every stakeholder is focused on that one thing, purchasing the rice from the market. That's what we want to spend sprint 1 doing. Same thing for software developer. We then say sprint 1 is focusing on account creation. Once we finish the whole analysis, design, implementation, all the phases, we finish it in that 3 weeks, then we can deploy that feature to end users, which is account creation. That's when you see account creation is live. Hey, customers can start at signing up, right? Sprint 1 has finished. The next sprint, we now say, okay, what's the second chunk of work we want to do? Login. So they spend another sprint. Everybody goes through the same process: analysis, design, implementation, testing, etc. Login is now ready. So 2 features are now ready: account creation and login. Then we move to the next feature, dashboard or the home page. Everybody spends another 2 weeks working on that. At the end of the 2 weeks, once everything is fine, we deploy that to production. So now it means that customers can create accounts, customers can log in, customers can view their dashboard at the end of sprint 3. Sprint 4, we now say, okay, what's the next thing? We want the nanny booking or profile setup, where nannies can upload their images, where nannies can put the details that they want. Mute your mic. Thank you. So after that sprint is done, we ship it. So customers then see, there's a new release, download app. They update your app. They update the app, and now they can see a new feature has been added. But in the background, what is happening is that a team has been working for 2 weeks or 3 weeks working on that feature. So the customer is only seeing it at the end after it has been deployed. So while the customer is saying, oh wow, a new feature has been added, the team has already started working on the next feature. And that's how agile works. Agile means push, work on small things, push it, let the customer use it, move to the next thing. After you finish working on it, push it, let the customer see the next new thing you've built. After that, work on the next thing, push it, let the customer see. So things are being developed small. That's how agile model is. So it makes use of sprints. And I said sprints are like a period of time, whether 1 week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks. Then it makes what usually starts it is a sprint planning meeting. That's the, let's call it town hall meeting, where everybody will come together and they say, hey, what do we want to build? Though they say we should build image upload. So everybody, what do you need for image upload? Oga backend. You say, I need API for this, I need API for that, I need this. Okay, Oga front end, what do you need for you to build image upload on the mobile app? Mobile developer will say, okay, I need this, I need design for this, I need that. That's the meeting where everybody gets to know what is to be built and they are asked what they need to build it. So there's a lot about that happens in agile model, but because we are not, agile in itself is a course on its own. But because we are not looking at agile workflows and all of that, we'll not go deep into it. But this, the final method, model, software development model, and this is what everybody claims they do. But I guess most of us will agree that this is what they do, because almost every app we use, once in a while, we see a new addition, right? Piggyvest, they might add a new addition. Your bank apps might add a new feature. Some add it maybe once a month, some add it once a quarter, but essentially, they are doing an iteration where new things are added to the app gradually, small. Okay. So, yeah, so this is the image for agile. Like I said, iteration 1. So imagine iteration 1 here represents account creation. You finish everything, you do requirement analysis, you do design, you build, you deploy. At the end, you deploy this. Next iteration, login. You do requirement analysis, you do design, you build, deployment, everything, the same steps. You finish this, you deploy. Next iteration, you build homepage, like that. Splitting the full application into small chunks and working on those small chunks and deploying it small. That's what agile focuses on. So from the images, we can see spiral, we can see V model. One must finish before the other starts, but there's a corresponding validation or testing phase. Then this is one of the oldest methods, the old school method, where you must finish phase 1 before you start phase 2. And ironically, a lot of companies still do waterfall, where you will hear an application. If we have testers in the house, you hear an application was built since last year, but they are just hiring a tester 1 week to when they want to go live. That's waterfall. Because normally in an agile model, you are supposed to have a software tester from the minute you had the idea of the application, from the minute the requirements were ready. A software tester was supposed to be part of your development team. But organizations that will bring software tester after everything has been built and they want to go live the next week, that's when they know, somebody has not tested this application. Let's go and hire software tester. You now see, bro, 1 month contract for a software tester. Those people is waterfall they did. No tester reviewed the requirements. No tester reviewed the design. No tester was there when they were implementing it. The tester came at the end of everything. So that's the waterfall method. Yes. So are there any questions? I think that's it for today. Do we have any questions? Okay. So I take the silence as there being no questions. This resource was shared in the group. For those who came late, I'd mentioned previously that because we have 6 weeks for this training and we have a lot of ground to cover, I'll be sharing the contents. Okay, I see your hand at it on. I'll be sharing the contents for most of the classes within the week so that you read and ask questions and I can answer. And then we use the weekends classes like this to do practicals. So that's the plan. All right, Aditun, your question.
Okay, thank you so much for the class. I want to ask about the method. Which one is the best? Is it the agile? I think the way you explained it, I think the agile is the best. And I want to ask, is it that the way you explained the agile, you said you'll do one, maybe develop do the login at, let's say, login, then they will send this for the end user to use. Is it like that for agile, or some just do it like that, or is it that they sometimes they finish all the they do all the application before sending it to the end user to use? Or I want to understand.
All right, so there are different applications. There's a recent payment application that Paystack launched, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. That application was not an agile developed application, meaning the full application was deployed at the same time. Right? They used I think they said they spent over a year, or how many, well, close to 2 years building that application. So they didn't follow agile. In agile, we say okay, to answer your first question, agile is the most advisable way. Why? If you have an application that has 5 features and each of those features will take 6 months, it means that you will need 30 months to finish building the application before you go to production, before you launch the application for end users to use. If you are going to use waterfall and use the 30 months to build that application, somebody else would have used agile and launched the application by the end of the first year. So that was what was beginning to happen. Some people will have ideas. Like I said in the first class, the way you are deciding to do software testing, the same way other people are deciding to do software testing. Esther might have an idea for nanny hiring application. The way she had the idea today, someone else next week might have that idea. If Esther decides that she wants to use waterfall method, meaning, let's go to the diagram for waterfall again. She wants to use waterfall method, meaning she must finish, if requirement analysis for the whole 5 things will take 1 month, then system design will takes another 2 months, making 3 months. Then implementation takes 6 months, making 9 months. Then testing will take another 1 month. That's 10 months. You see, we have used like 10 months before we can even deploy the application to production, right? It's after the 10th month that Esther will come and announce, I have a new product. Hey, mothers, are you excited? I have a new product update. I've developed an application where you can use to hire nannies, where you can use seamlessly to do their background checks, to do their tests. What's that thing they test when you want to get a nanny and all those things. I've made it so easy. You don't need to go around calling people, begging people. It's right on an app, right? Esther can only announce that product after month 10 based on this calculation we did. But if you use agile, it means Esther can just speak with her team. Okay, what are the essential things that a user needs to have now? Okay, they'll say the important things are that the user should be able to sign up, the user should be able to log in, the user should be able to view profiles of available nannies. So Esther now says, okay, let's just do those 3 features first. The remaining 2 features will be iterating them, we'll be pushing them as updates. after we have launched. So, okay, let's say Esther was the first person. Juliana now has this same idea and decides, okay, instead of waiting to build all the 5 apps and test all the 5 features before we deploy all of them, let's do it iteratively. Let's do it in iterations. So Juliana now says, I'll do my own in iteration. So let's split it. Sign up. How long will it take us to do? Let's use sprint 1 to do sign up. That's 3 weeks. Immediately we have done sign up and login. 3 weeks. Deploy it. Next phase, image upload. How long will it take us? It will take us another 3 weeks. You see that she has spent a shorter time. 3 weeks plus 3 weeks. That's 6 weeks. That's less than 2 months. Juliana can now come and advertise. Hey, mothers, I have a product for you. The version 1, that's why you'll be hearing things like the version 1 of the project, because that product is not complete yet. But because she wants to launch to the market faster than Esther, so that the customers Esther's would have gotten after 10 months, she would have gotten those same customers under 3 months, right? She will then do agile and push it. Oh, you can sign up this version 1, you can sign up, you can create an account, you can log in, you can view all the nannies that you have, but you can't book yet because they've not done iteration for booking yet, right? But just check the app out. So while she's busy advertising, hey, this app is finally over, the team has already started the sprint for booking. So by that time, people are downloading the app, people are signing up. The sprint has started for the next feature. They say, oh wow, this is a good app, this is a good app, this is a good app. So how do we do booking? They say, okay, we can just take your booking, just click on it, we'll take your bookings in the back end. Version 2, everything will be automated by version 2, but for now we'll manually do it. That is a style to still retain the users, but because the code for booking has not been completed, they will handle it manually, meaning somebody has to take the orders, someone has to review the orders, everything is done manually. By the end of 3 weeks after Juliana has launched the product, the team comes and says booking is now complete. They deploy booking. So you see on your app, you see update the app. It's because there's a new thing they have added. An iteration has just completed and there's a new feature that's been added. You will not see that feature until you update the app. So if you now update the app, you can then see, oh, booking is now on the app. Wow, wow, wow. So I can create an account, I can log in, I can view profiles, I can book. While you are still jubilating, the team has started working on the next feature, maybe payments, how to make an order and pay for the nanny. You get, so that's how iteration works. That's how agile works. Small developments. Work, do one feature, work, push, the next feature, work, push, do the next, like that, work, push. That's agile. Waterfall is saying finish everything, all the 5 features, test everything before you push. So most people do this. You can already see the benefits of this. Most people do this because everybody wants to reach market first, wants to carry first. As so I'm the one that launched this idea first. Wants to carry first. I'm the one that first collected all the customers, right? So you can. I hope that answers the question. Someone's hand up was up again. All right, Oluwashola.
Ma, thank you so much, man. I understand this well now.
All right, great.
Thank you, ma.
Great. Oluwashola.
For this class, and I want to ask a question, and even though you've answered part of it, so my question was that how long does it take each of these models? Like which one takes longer? So you've answered that the waterfall things take a longer time or period of time before it's being launched. So my next question is, for the waterfall, is there avenue for, because after they've launched the app and the users are already using it, is there any other measure for if they want to correct or to do one thing or the other on the app, won't it affect all the app that they've launched already, that the users are already using, unlike the agile that is one from one stage to another to another? Thank
All
you.
right, thanks for the question. No, it doesn't affect the app. So they might have built 5 features and all those, and they spend some time maintaining those 5 features, ensuring that the application doesn't have downtime, all the APIs are still working, there's no glitch. That can be work, maintenance. But then the CEO might just decide, I traveled to Spain and I saw they have a nanny app, but their own nanny app has a way that you can track the location of the nanny. So it might have an icon in the nanny that's where you can click to say, show me my nanny's location, and it has a geolocator that tells, let's do that. I want us to do that. The CEO, let's say Esther, the CEO has a new idea. The development team can start these phrases again. Okay, Oga has come with new idea. He said we should add geolocation. Or how do we want to do it? BA, what are the requirements for this? BA now sits down and gathers those requirement analysis. That's phase 1. We move to the phase 2. Okay, designer, come and design. The app is still live. All this new activity that is happening does not affect the app, the full app that was deployed. It doesn't affect it. So designer comes design, developers come develop, tester comes test. You now say, Oga, oh yeah, we want to do a demo. Come and see what the idea you brought 2 months ago. We finished building it. Let's demo it. Oga says, oh yes, this is exactly what I want. Let's push it. That's when you hear an announcement. So it's like different style. The different models doesn't prevent additional requirements. The models are just telling you how the style in which these additions are added, the format it takes, right? It's not saying that you can't, once you ship a product to production, that's the end. You can't add anything. You can't remove anything. You can't improve anything. No. It's just telling you the style, the way how person A cooks their fried rice is different from how person B cooks their fried rice. At the end of the day, it's fried rice we eat. This one I'm saying fried rice like this. I'm now, but you understand, it doesn't prevent, regardless of the model, you can add new features. It doesn't prevent anything. Hope that answers the question.
Yes, ma. Thank you, ma.
All right. Okay. I'm guessing that's all for the questions, and our time is fast spent. That's how I had the strength to do this today. Thanks a lot, ladies. So I'll share the resources for Abike. Is Abike still on the call? Abike has left also. For Abike, I'll refer you to the
I'm
previous.
here.
Oh, okay, Abike is here. Great. I'll refer you to the previous slides. I think there's a recording from the first class that you can. The first class was more introductory. I don't know if TK also has the second class, but
yeah, I'll share the link of all the uploads. I'll share
okay.
it in the group.
All right. So should we share it for you, Abike, and for anyone else who's joining the class later? Like I said, I'll be dropping contents more frequently for us to review. Please, when you see then you see the lessons, I try to make it few slides so that it's not 10, 20 slides, short slides, so that you digest it quickly, make any research you need, and ask questions right before we move on. So please consume the materials, understand them, ask questions if you're confused, and let's make progress. We'll use the weekends for practical classes. So it means from next weekend, get your laptops available to join the call with your laptop so that we put to practice what we are learning. All right, that'll be all from my end.